We're live, everybody, and welcome to the monthly Beer with Brian program. This is an informal conversation about what's going on, talking about pop culture, answering your questions. This is a program of the Coffin Comics Sworn Club. As you and I sit, man, we got like 2 days until Sworn Fest. It's going to come down to the wire for Coffin Comics as we decorate HQ. I think Sworn Fest itself is handled, but there's a lot of decor that's still rocking to the very edge. We'll be done Thursday at 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow. So you are welcome to actually ask any questions. We are inside HQ, our slightly boomy production studio. But, and also this is like, usually this is pop culture ruminations. But to be candid with you, myself and a small team have been actually working 6 days a week, up to 70 hours a week on the decoration portion of HQ while balancing our normal accountabilities. So I don't think I've really seen too much that I could really think of. I am reading some zombie fiction, and it's called, I think it's called When the World Came Apart. I'm just getting into it, so I don't have much to report. I do think if you read World War Z, it's kind of that idea where there's a journalist traveling the world kind of in sequence and looking at different parts of the planet and different characters, what was going on during their zombie war. So in this one, they're proposing that some sort of horrific virus came deep out under the earth from mining up in Russia and started slowly spreading. That's the wrinkle on this one. No fast zombies. It's very, very slow infection, such that hundreds and hundreds of people got infected and went about their lives, on planes here, there, travel, and slowly became infected over the course of anything from, depending on the bite, right, from 3 days to 2 weeks. And that is what they propose has led to like it spreading everywhere. Anyway, I'm just getting started on it. If there's a question, let me know.
We got a question from Dan.
Dan.
He's saying the fight scenes in The Rapture, Wargasm, and Sacrificial Annihilation were some of the best in modern comic history. What is your approach to writing action over narrative and character progression?
Dan, thank you so much for that comment. I feel great about it because we do put some time into it. So years ago in the 90s, there was a time where we had what I thought was an under-realized storyline called Goddess War. It really promised to fight, and it didn't deliver. So I've been living in opposition of that ever since. So on the storylines you're talking about, we actually do break down the action as the writers. And for Wargasm in particular, Mike McLean and I test ourselves with looking at our favorite comic book fights and looked at that and tried to derive some methodology. So behind it, there really is some stuff. So, I mean, among the coolest fights ever is Doomsday versus Superman during the Death of Superman storyline. It started where it would be multi-panel pages, but as each issue got closer and closer to the quote-unquote Death of Superman, there became less panels. In fact, one of the penultimate issues before Superman is killed is just all splash pages. So you'll actually kind of see a little mathematics there where we actually start on a 9-panel grid during a fight, and that is an homage to Jack Kirby, who was known for doing tons of those. Then we went to a 6, usually in CinemaScope, and that was a nod to Frank Miller during his Daredevil era. And then just taking direction from that idea, the Superman versus Doomsday, we started doing less panels on a page. We also sort of put ourselves in the reader's point of view, and it's like, well, what do you really want to see? So, we had a lot of fun ideas ourselves, particularly, Lady Death, Hell Witch, what outlandish stuff would people want to see? So that kind of informed it. But we do take our fights pretty seriously. Dan, thank you so much for your question, and I love that acknowledgement. Appreciate it.
Question from Matt. It's a question about artists' APs. Do they receive APs for mystery envelopes usage? Are they standard covers or enhanced?
So for every artist who contributes to Coffin Comics, we give them APs that roughly account for about 5% of the print run. So if it's an edition we make limited to 100, we're going to give the artist 5. If it's something like a mystery envelope, they're going to get 3. And it's going to be an exact duplication of what is in the run. So if it's a holofoil, it will be a holofoil AP, metal, etc. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any follow-ups, feel free. But yeah, artists do get the APs. And it's usually their initials every time in the lower portion of the book.
And Gabriel has a question.
Hey, Gabriel.
Brian, you wrote Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Texas Chainsaw for Avatar Press.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite to write?
Oh.
And how do you get the rights to make the stories back?
Well, I didn't have anything to do with the rights at the time. I would imagine those rights kind of just went where they went, and I don't know about that. But as far as like writing all of them, I love them all for different reasons. I see Jason as a supernatural Terminator. I see Freddy as a dream demon. And with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the thing that's interesting about that group of people, the Hewitt family, is that there's nothing actually supernatural about them. So they're just like a super effed up family. Now, years ago when I was writing my Texas Chainsaw Massacre storyline, I was writing it in the month of December. And it was the last story I wrote before Christmas. And I got to tell you, to do justice to that family, Thomas Hewitt and his family, it's so icky. You just got to go in there, and you got to go to places you don't want to go to, but that's the job. Thankfully, at one point, it's 5 o'clock on a Friday, and I close the door. I hand it in. I'm done. I just try to wash that thing off me because they're nasty. Now, Chucky, I wrote Chucky too, and he's just fun. So it's hard to take him too seriously. He's fun.
I have a watcher has a question. Will there be a Madam Midnight comic in 2025 or 2026?
That is a great question. I love Madam Midnight. You are totally going to see her distinguish herself in our 2024 storyline. You will see a Madam Midnight story. It's likely to be in 2026. Yeah, love her. More to come. Her and Mujai together, super cool. The 2024 storyline, you're going to really see her come into her own power, and I don't want to say any more about it.
Solomon wants to know, will Evil Ernie get an omnibus?
So Solomon, I personally have not owned Evil Ernie since August of 2002. It is published by a different publisher, of which I have no meaningful relationship with, so I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think because the rights are quite convoluted, I don't foresee an omnibus happening. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of Lady Death is in a lot of Evil Ernie books and vice versa. And since we have no meaningful relationship with the company that now owns those things, I don't see us collaborating on something like an omnibus. There's not a lot of trust between myself and that company. So I don't see it happening.
Gabriel says, Lady Death had a crossover with Zombie Tramp.
Yeah.
Will Lady Death have more crossovers with Zombie Tramp and or other crossovers with other companies?
Now, the crossover Lady Death Zombie Tramp was a Still Ill Comics production. And man, I just got to give it up to Dan Mendoza. I think he's a very gifted publisher and art director, and it was wonderful. If we were to do something like that again, it'd be up to Dan. This has opened me up to the possibility of wanting to do other crossovers. And we are pursuing some opportunities, and we'll see. The challenge of a crossover is it's sort of like taking on a boss. But in the case of Dan, I just thought working with him was the easiest thing in the world. I just like working with him. Very easygoing. We're like super duper on the same page. If we were to kind of like do the bulwark of a crossover, it'd have to be super simple. It's got to be with people I know. There's got to be a high level of trust because I don't want a boss. I don't want people like driving me up a wall with their questions, comments, and concerns. It's just like, trust me to make it cool. So I'm open.
You know what? We should probably do time for one more here.
One more.
Solomon has another question here. Can Lady Death turn back into human form?
Can Lady Death turn back into human form? I do not believe that Lady Death personally has the power or ability to do that. She has not attempted to do it, but she has used kind of spells to make herself appear, quote unquote, alive. There was a storyline, I think it was back in 2000, where Lady Death was made alive by the Grim Reaper. And that was to teach her humility and to have her remember what it was like to have to live, breathe, eat to live. And that was a short-lived storyline. I can tell you, though, that Lady Death can put like a spell on herself and appear to be alive, but I don't think that she personally could actually turn back into hope.
Actually, let's jump in. Let's do one more.
One more.
Here for Chris. Technical question.
Chris, yes.
When you're writing a comic or trade, how do you format the pages to work with an artist to help them visualize the writing? Do you use a script format or something else?
Here's the great thing. So you're asking me what is the format we use to tell an artist the story to draw. The cool thing is comics are fairly flexible, and the document is very simple. It might just say page 1, panel 1, and what happens. You have a lot of flexibility in comics to say what you'd like to say, but I think it's important to excite an artist. So I try to use evocative language as opposed to trying language that really, really controls what is being seen. I want to kind of inspire them to imagine it. And you could see how that works with Diego Bernard. He just comes up with great stuff. Sometimes there is some technical stuff in a comic book script. So it's like page 1, panel 1, here's what happens. Note, we really need to see this. It's important to the story later. So I don't even think you have to do something like a screenplay format because it's sort of limited in how they do the dialogue. I just do page 1, panel 1, what happens, dialogue, who says it, and repeat until it's done. We provide a lot of visual reference. If we cannot communicate visually what we're after, we'll just say, hey, here's a reference. I'm thinking about like this part of Times Square, here's a picture reference. So we just say reference 1 and then label the file. It's really, do that and repeat. And usually stories have a beginning, middle, and end, not necessarily in that order.
All right, I like one more here. Bill
One more.
Bill McCray wants to know.
What's up, my boy, Bill?
Hey, Brian, any plans to do another team using Coffin characters?
So the question is, we're going to do another team. So there are several loosely based teams in the Coffin universe. The first one is the Swarm. And it is a rotating group of characters that were first introduced, I believe, in Oblivion Kiss. And they formed formally in the storyline Blasphemy Anthem. We recently introduced, even in Blasphemy Anthem, we introduced a team of actual superheroes in our universe called The Trust. And we keep getting little glimpses and insights. So in our last year's storyline, you saw them. And in the 2024 storyline, you'll see them. And then thirdly is another team that we have not gotten to. And that is the Slatonists. And that is a group of supernatural serial killers. And as soon as we could figure out what the hell should the story be about these characters, we have a lot of ideas. That would be another group. Also, there will be a supernatural group coalescing around a storyline in the future. And there's already been hints about who and what they are. But I would say in this 2024 storyline, you are going to see a bunch of characters come together because they have to by necessity. Our big bad Satanus is coming back, and they're going to need a lot of firepower if they think they could overcome the father of lies. Folks, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I love the questions today. They were phenomenal. I love talking story, the mechanics of story, continuity, all that. It's my favorite. So thank you so much for your great questions. Tune in next month for Beer with Brian, a program of the Coffin Comics Sworn Club. You may be asking yourself, why the heck should I join? Let me tell you a couple of things about the Coffin Comics Sworn Club. First, you get the cool membership packet with a whole host of goodies that make you official, including your membership card and other items. You also get a 24-hour advantage on all news related to Coffin Comics. And then thirdly, you get a 1-hour advantage in 99% of the promotions that we do at coffincomicsshop.com. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. See you soon, and see a bunch of you at Swornfest. Thank you so much.
Swornfest, Swornfest, Swornfest! Swornfest, the global gathering for Coffin Comics fiends and the Swarm, featuring exclusive parties, artists, signings, commission, panels, beer, food, coffee, alcohol, tours of HQV2, trading posts, CGC, friendship, community, camaraderie, shenanigans, insanity, and more.
Plan ahead. Be there.
Tickets and details on sale now at coffincomicsshop.com. Presented by Coffin Comics. Swornfest. February 23rd through 25th, 2024. Mesa, Arizona, USA. Swarm.